Hello everybody and welcome to one more video on big units. And this time it is the Soviet Air Force of World War II, the VVS. It is made for 3 periods, for early war, mid-war and late war, so everything can be a little bit covered in terms of wargaming, rapid-fire wargaming. And there is a total of 30 aircraft here. 12 of them are die-casts, other are plastic models. Let's start with the early war. Early war, you have the Polikarpov I-16 here. There are 4 of them. Most of them are the very light Revell model, and then the much heavier, of course, the Altaya model, easily recognizable by the black lining that they use almost everywhere. Different camouflage, as you can see here. The Soviet Air Force is, in fact, extremely colorful. Sorry, and I like these colors a lot. There is this light green, there is a darker green, there is black, there is gray, and there is a khaki color. Also, there is a very light sand color, also pretty nice. And sometimes you can even see the two different greens placed on the same aircraft, which makes I think this aviation very, very, very colorful. So beginning of the war, I mean, all this didn't survive for long, of course. In these days, the Soviet aircraft were still inferior to the Germans. I mean, in fact, Soviet Air Force, even if a good arm of the armed forces of Soviet Union, it never came to the level of the best German aircraft, even if they had aces, of course, but they always struggled to keep with the German innovations. There was some good aircraft, of course. The Stromovik is very famous. The Yakovlev 9 was a particularly good aircraft and fighter, but they had loads of aircraft, sometimes little time to train their pilots, and this is where in fact the German got most of their aces from. It was in fact in the Eastern Front. Even so, very cute aircraft, very serviceable aircraft, very rugged, very durable aircraft, and with very beautiful markings and colors. E-16s here, a Polikarpov by KP here, a Polikarpov what? PE2, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is, I think, is the model from KP, Kovozavory Posejov. It was used everywhere for liaison, for reconnaissance, for transport of officers. It was a workhorse of the Soviet Air Force. Then you see here the big TB3 by ICM. I showed you already in the Ozereka landings. So my hand is here. As you can see, I mean, it's almost the length of my arm. It's a very big thing. And my usual blue painting on the glass, a little bit everywhere. Also, these designs from the 30s are nice because you can see the pilots and the guys manning the guns, which is something I like a lot. Like in this Polikarpov. So this must have been a very cold environment, as we can imagine. Imagine this in front, which was already cold. Now imagine, I mean, flying in these things must have been not very joyful. Still in the beginning, this MiG-3 by Altaya. Simple but very beautiful aircraft. Lost, in fact, in big numbers because it was not as effective as the German Messerschmitt 109 of the period. Then things started to get better, of course. This Lavushin 7s entered. One is Altaya, the other two are Revell, yeah. Things started to get better. They're still for the early period. I forget these ones. They're these ones are the SP2s, the Tupolev SP2s. They were this close to enter to the Republican shelves in the Spanish Civil War, but I ended up by painting them for the Barbarossa period. See, they are two very nice Eastern Express models. Then you start to enter mid-war, and the star of the World War II aviation, Soviet aviation enters, of course, the Sturmovik. This is an early version by Altaya with this canopy, but then this one, more recognizable, entered. There are three of them. This one is Airfix. The old one is Altaya, and these two are also Altaya. I think this one is Luppa. Yeah, this one is Luppa, and this one is Altaya. Very beautiful, as you can see. Very beautiful markings and camouflage schemes, and a very good ground attack aircraft, which was in fact a nightmare for the German ground forces. Then you have here big bomber. This is the Ilyushin Il-4. I think this model, I'm not sure, but I think it's Revell. I really can't be sure. In fact, I think, I'm not sure of what I'm saying, but I think that the Allies, both the Eastern Soviet Union and the Western Allies, Britain and the United States, they somehow divided the role of their aviation. I mean, the American Allies, also because of their industrial capability, ended up by producing lots of strategic bombers, B-17s, B-24. British made the Halifax and all that stuff, in order to bomb German industrial areas and also cities, while the Soviets made especially an effort on the ground. So they used mostly tactical aviation. There is, of course, the very famous Pe-8, the Petlyakov 8, big bomber. But in fact, the Russians didn't. I think, as far as I can remember, they didn't do that many. So their ideas. I think they divided the work, if I can say. So the Soviet Union will go by the ground, and Allies will go by the air in terms of strategic movements. I think it was a little bit like that, even if the VVS, of course, was very numerous. They, of course, needed for the ground support role and for other intentions. But I think it was a little bit like that. Strategic bombing of Germany was left mostly for the American and British allies. Now, continuing with the somewhat mid-war, you see here the Yak-3, the Yakovlev 3. There are three of them. Altaya here, and Revell here. This is the Normandy Niemen aircraft. So with French guys that reached the Soviet Union. A very famous escadrille or squadron, if you want. There are also some Lend-Lease P-39 Cobra here. I generally paint all my symbols. I like to paint them. I don't trust much the decals. I don't know why. I think sometimes they are, as you don't do, as these are wargaming models, sometimes my painting is not the best. I mean, when you place decals, it becomes something very nice on top of a sleazy painting or sleazy paint job. So if everything becomes a little bit sleazy, I think it's more agreeable, if I can say so. This one is Revell, and this one here is repainted Altaya with these lovely two green colors. Now you enter the final parts of the war. The best fighter enters here. There are two Altaya, as you can see over there, two Altaya Yakovlev 9. This was the best fighter that Soviet Union produced, with plenty of kills on German aircraft. And there are two light bombers that you can see in very famous pictures around bombing Berlin. So it reached the end of the war. It is I'm not sure from which year it started. Maybe 1943, but I'm not really sure. And this is a Petlyakov. This is a Petlyakov, and this one is a Tupolev. Yeah, this is the model from Italeri, and the Tupolev 2 is from ICM. Yeah, with a very beautiful, as you can see, a very beautiful color scheme. This one much simpler and more usual also. The black effect and green was almost always present, and then sometimes there was some variations. Now you have here a liaison aircraft also. This is the Yak 6 by Encore. I just add them in the stash, so I built it and painted. It's not a very useful thing. These Gribovski kits are also not that necessary. They are G11. They are the glider, the main Russian glider. There are some operations with them, not that many, but even so, I have this pair of them, and I think everything is shown. Yeah, maybe one of these days a big PE8, a Petlakov 8 enters. But the problem of those big bombers is always, I think, the same for wargamers. Where can you store that thing? For instance, this one is not easy to store, as you can imagine. And having more or less of this size is not probably not very enjoyable. So everything is shown. I hope you have enjoyed the Russian Soviet VVS of World War II, and see you soon in another probably another collection of aircraft. I still have to show you the Japanese and late war Western Allied, British and American, mostly with plenty of course, of Yak bombers to disrupt the German efforts at Normandy and other places. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and bye bye. See you soon. Bye bye.